Good night, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stefania Prescott, and with me I have Mr. Larry
Larry
Hall.
Hall. So I'll be her co-host with her tonight. So don't worry, we'll be working together.
Welcome again. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. I would like to say a special welcome to Honorable President of Parliament, Mr. Reverend Scott Williams. Thank you for joining us to celebrate the launch of 240 Seconds St. Martin Icons. This documentary honors the people and stories that make our islands unique. We're proud to share the journey with you, showcasing the culture, history, and spirit of St. Martin. I hope you will enjoy each video and thank you for being part of this special moment.
So we do hope you will enjoy the few videos that we have showing. Of course, it take a lot of work from 264 to get it done. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So before we start, we're going to make sure that we do a little bit of the St. Martin song because it's very important. All right? So if you guys can stand. All right. Everyone's ready? Oh, sweet St. Martin's land, so bright, with sailors on the sea and harbors free, where the chains of mountains green, where the sea and sunlight sheen. Oh, I love St. Paradise, nature's beauty fairly nice. Oh, I love thy paradise, nature's beauty fairly nice. Thank you, guys.
Now we would like to present the project managers of 240. We have Mr. Alvin Prescott and John Prescott. They are two brothers who came up with this brilliant idea to document our beautiful icons and history of St. Martin. So please welcome Alvin and John.
It's a little bit difficult for John to be able to come back because he's
He's
behind the
also
scenes at the
behind the
same
scenes,
place, but
correct.
he's going to take a little time to come and introduce themselves.
Okay. Good night, everyone. My brother, if you don't like to talk much. Okay. My name is Alvin Prescott, as some of you may know, if others don't know. And we're the project managers for this pilot project called 240 Seconds of We Own Thing, by the brand 240 Seconds, by the brand Focus Forward. It's a pilot project, and as some of you may know, what we intend to do is we intend on documenting a little bit of our culture and history because there's not much of that going on, period, on that. So that's kind of where we are. And it came up because one day I was looking for some pictures in Simpson Bay. And I couldn't find any. I just found literally only two pictures on the internet. And it was kind of sad. I saw the old bridge, and then I saw a couple of people in a fishing boat. And when you, when you, when you keep on looking and looking and looking and trying to dig and dig and dig, you keep finding the same thing over and over. And what I wanted to do is basically get it from a stories perspective, from the people that live here on the island. And that's the intention behind this project. And my brother, don't talk much. So I'm the talker. Um, and he's the camera person behind everything and the technical person behind everything. And I'm the creative mind, although he's still creative. Um, but both of us together make this entire brand, Focus Forward. This is our studio. And the brand, We Own Thing. is exactly what it intends to be, we own thing. And that's about it. Keep it short.
I still believe John could have introduced himself though, but it's fine.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so in a few seconds, we're gonna have the videos displayed. You guys can get a chance to enjoy every single one of them. And after that, each person would like to come up, have a few seconds to say something. What was your experience? How was the recording? You know, so on and so forth. So just sit back, relax. In a few seconds, you'll start to enjoy the videos. Okay? Thank you.
What a pleasure to have been asked to say something about the village of Simpson Bay. And I know, regardless to the time that I'm given, I could never do it justice because there's so much to tell about Simpson Bay and the history of Simpson Bay. The last time I had an opportunity to do a recording about Simpson Bay in Simpson Bay, it was at the location of the old cistern, as we call it, on the main road in Simpson Bay. That is a very significant part of Simpson Bay's history. The old cistern on the main road used to serve as the water reservoir for many, or in fact all, of the people of Simpson Bay, and sometimes even outside of Simpson Bay. In fact, my mother was one of those persons who would actually draw water from the cistern and take it to the more affluent homes and families here in Simpson Bay. Simpson Bay was nowhere close to those of you who know it today. Simpson Bay was a very secluded and at some time during our history, isolated part of St. Martin. The lagoon is such a treasure, and nowadays even more so. But it was always a treasure for the people of Simpson Bay as well as St. Martin. And so again, what we see in the lagoon today is nowhere close to what it used to be. And yeah, you know, there's some nostalgia there because it's in the lagoon where, of course, fishing used to take place, shrimping used to take place. I mean, so many different activities used to take place in the Simpson Bay Lagoon, and it was much, much closer to land, in fact, to the beach and the small strip of land in between with Simpson Bay than it is today. There was a time in our history that Simpson Bay was actually cut off from the rest of the island because of a hurricane that had passed and made it separated it, as I said, from the rest of the island. And so the history and the culture of Simpson Bay, especially before now, you saw that isolation still. There are some family names on Simpson Bay, and regardless to which one we carry now, I am sure in the ancestry you would see. Let me use myself as an example. I am a Williams because of my father. And my father, he was James Christopher Williams. And for centuries, it was either James Christopher, Christopher James, Thomas Christopher, on and on. But the surname, the Williams, my grandmother was a Peterson and her mother a Hawley. So those names especially, but also the Flawns and some others are actually a very strong part of the history of Simpson Bay. I think knowing one's identity, not only as an islander, but also as a village person, knowing that identity makes you strong. So remember the legacy of this village, the fishing legacy, our marine legacy, the lagoon, and let us use those blocks as building blocks for the future of Simpson Bay and of St. Martin. I am Sarah Agatha Westcott. My married surname, Williams. And I am proud to be part of this production. And I hope in a small way, it encourages us to remember our history. Because after all, again, remember, it is we own thing.
All right, I guess that was very informative. How do you guys feel about that? Learning about the whole Simpson Bay depiction and how the history behind of it with the names, etc. But I would like to call the person that was in the video to really tell you guys right now in front of your face how you came about the information and how you feel watching yourself now on the big screen, as we say. Okay, we're getting a different mic. All right. As we say on the big screen of how you're seeing yourself now and knowing that you now have impacted our culture by persons now going to be able to see this in our archives in the next 10, 20, 30 years from now, which are leaving our children be able to go back and understand what is Simpson Bay and the history behind of it.
Just hold it?
Yeah.
This way. Good evening, and thank you. First of all, let me thank you for having me be part of this program. And it was so funny because as they started, Alvin and crew, and then they told me the amount of time that I would be allotted. I was like, impossible. There is no way I could say even the smallest part of what I want to say in that small time. So you guys did a good job by capturing as much as you could, the essence of the story in such a short time. And again, it's like Alvin said, now these days with technology, you find a lot of things, but to have it be orchestrated by us and also kept by us, that's a whole different story. And that is why I think the whole idea behind it, to have it, to make it, to keep it, to store it, and to share it, these things are extremely important for our culture, for our heritage and ancestry to continue to live. So again, congratulations to all who made it possible, and I look forward for you continuing. Again, if we don't save our story, if we don't tell it, if we don't share it, no one else is going to do it for us. And if they do, it's not going to be our real story. So thank you so very much. It was a pleasure to be part of the program. Thank you.
For me, I think, agriculture was one of the most important pillars of St. Martin economy in general. When you look at farmers like Mr. Matthew, Mr. Richardson, Mr. Guy, and you listen to them speak, you really saw how St. Martin embraced agriculture for something that was really important to the people. When you say like, they're looking at turning over their land and developing crops so that they can bring food to the communities. I mean, that's what it was all about back in the day. That's how people really survived and really got their livelihoods together, in a means of jollification too as well. Back then, people really grew crops and took it out to the market, and people was waiting for them in towns and different things. And so people was more self-sustainable back then and networking with each other in order to get things done on an economical level. So for me, when I look back at that and I saw how we had a lot more sustainability in a sense when it comes to the basic necessities that were very much more important, you kind of realize that the way we go in now, we need to kind of not throw that sector on the side because it will be one of the most important ones that we've got to be relying on back in the future. You know, with the crops that we grew back then, it was at such low price and value, but yet was the most valuablest thing that the people actually needed. Now, when you look today at things like, and we so rely on importation, we have to really think about how that's really going to affect us moving forward. I mean, it was never the first, and it's not going to be the last, but the thing is, what type of impact will it have on us in these Caribbean regions that rely on these imports to be able to sustain our economy? So I think it's something that we need to really put more in-depth thought into on building resilience and building sustainable networks inside of our Caribbean region to ensure that food security can always be met. So, you know, I think where we devalued the country is when we actually decided to make a transition from agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries, which was basically the pillar of the economy, into the tourism sector, and not realizing how agriculture could have actually complemented that tourism sector. And it was sad how the transition happened, because I think it really happened by force, that our people were basically conditioned into believing that agriculture would no longer provide a certain levels of sustainability to them. And so, you know, they just buy the cookie and run with it without really realizing the full potential that they really still had in their hands. I think I'm such a dedicated, die-hard advocate to nature. And I think nature ever so often, like they say, God has a sense of humor, you know. Ever so often, I think nature has a great sense of humor, where it challenges us as people to really recognize what is most important and what should be most valued. My name is Denisio Wyatt. I am Managing Director of Spaceless Gardens and founder of St. Martin Agricultural Research and Development Center Foundation. I would like to encourage a lot of people to find purpose in this life, you know, and I think agriculture has made me find purpose, has made me find something to live for. So I am giving thanks for just being able to share my opinion with you guys today, and I hope that it may be very fruitful to the mind moving forward. Blessed love.
Okay, Denisio is not here. Actually, he was supposed to be here. I think he's either running late or forgot about it. Most probably he's running late. So I just want to give a few words about the reason why we chose Denisio in agriculture. A lot of people speak about the independence about this country. And back in the day, we had something to, I would say, to live off of, you know. And I find that if we had continued that trend, it would have been a little more easier for us to speak more lively about independence in the future, not now, but in the future. And I think agriculture is one of those things that we really need, because everybody likes food. I like food. So having chose agriculture and having chosen Denisio, because he is one of the individuals that I know is really, for the lack of a better word, he said it's a really die-hard when it comes to agriculture on the island. He started one of the first, well, I would say second, in St. Peter's, because I think the Richardson family is the one that did the first in St. Peter's. I mean, I Young, but I ain't that old. And up in the hill too. So he started that, and he had
Here is a
his
gel.
his fights and everything. But
Work
when
with the
we
climax.
went up to see his
Before
farm,
you
it
go,
was, to me, it was
you're gonna
very
make sure
amazing.
that you get one when you go
And
home. You're going to, when
that's
you go
one
to
of
the
the
hotel,
things I
you're
wish he
gonna
was
rub it.
here,
It's
that I
going
could
to
have
ease
just
the
tell him
pain.
how amazing his farm is. There's other farms
I
out
know
there,
it could be very
but
thing.
I really enjoy going to what he had. And
Uh-huh.
one of these days, he always told us one of these days we should come up and he'll cook for us, because he
Oh,
has his
okay.
little kitchenette thing there. So it's a good stuff. It's good stuff. Anyway, so next video ready?
One of my educators was Mr. late Camille Bailey, and back in those days in school, he used to teach us a lot of theater and poems. He was also a great writer. And one day he took me to Curacao for an Antillean cultural manifestation, and the group involved Mr. Camille Bailey himself, Mr. Lasana Siko, and there I was impressed. I got to meet several people in the cultural field. The Minister of Education back then, who was Mr. Jack Ferris, who was the guest speaker and told us about the different cultures of the island, and was quite impressive. I did a documentary on that for radio, and then I became really interested in doing things for St. Martin culture, because back in those days there wasn't a lot of possibilities for the artists themselves to showcase their culture. My name is Elton Richardson of the program St. Martin in Retrospect, and I'm honored and very proud to be a part of this program, 240 seconds of We Own Thing. So I took it upon myself, formed a group, and we did a number of programs from about St. Martin. I must admit and say, though, that it was a stepping stone from the program Profiles of the Windward Islands, which I had a small role in that. As a young boy, you figuring, well, maybe that wasn't something I wanted to do. But, you hear the discussions about, St. Martin don't have no culture. St. Martin have a lot of culture. If you look around, there's a culture in the way we speak. There's a culture in the way our music that we produce. There's a way in the way we dress, the food we eat. That's something else. And back in those days, the food was provision, and we would ask ourselves, well, what's St. Martin? Number one food. What's St. Martin mean? Food. I would say it would be provision and fish, because that's what we live off of. That's what we grew up on from back in the days. Well, I grew up in the little small village of Cold Bay, and those days didn't have a lot of people living there, and people farm a lot over there in Cold Bay. So the Bells had a lot of cattle. They did a lot of farming. They even used to deliver milk to the school, the Leonard Connor School. There were people who would butcher. Like my family, for instance, we would butcher almost every weekend. If it's not a cow, it's 2 goats. We raised chickens in the yard. So that was basically our food there. We wasn't really depending on the importation of food. As little boys, how do we keep ourselves busy? And, growing up in the Cold Bay area, we had to resort in making perhaps our own toys that would keep us busy. And I'm sure you hear about the roller. That is one of the things that I try to at least promote in one of the schools, in Martin Vocational School. Everybody, well, things started to change in St. Martin back late 50s, early 60s, when we started moving to tourism. We saw a lot of changes. yeah, there's a song that says, goes, bring back the old time ways. We know that there must be some change, so we have to bring back the old time ways. Bring back the old time ways. Bring back the old time days. I know times must change, but I still say bring back the old time ways. Bring back the old time ways. If you don't know your past, you wouldn't know your future.
Okay, that was Elton. Ain't much to say about Elton. Except somebody asked me, oh, you were interviewing Elton, he had clothes on? I was like, yeah, because usually Elton is so comfortable, it's like he walks around in a merino all day, every day.
Or as he gets excited, he starts sticking up on
yeah,
his head
yeah,
and,
that's
the passion in the story.
exactly. So, well, I told the person, well, it was easy this time because we actually interviewed him in his house. So he was comfortable regardless. Ain't much to say about what he said. I wish he was here, but I don't think he came in because he was in the Philippines. So I don't think he actually came back in time. But that was Elton. The reason why I chose Elton is because I worked, helped him produce a couple of his St. Martin in retrospect before, and I'm planning, we are planning on actually doing a bigger project with him for this year with, for St. Martin in retrospect. What we're actually doing is we're trying to rebrand and refocus and repurpose the show. We have still to write the grant for CCG. So you could. So that was a plug telling you to come in just now. Okay. But yeah, it has to be again something that from us we own thing, and to display to the world, not to our community, to the world, because St. Martin is this small, but actually we're this big. So, next video.
Hello. Welcome to Corona Park. My name is Urmain Dormois, better known as Yume Dormois. People call me Yume because my name is actually a French name, Urmain Dormois, it's French. But back in school days, they could not pronounce the Urmain. So that's where the Yume came from. And then the Yume became my artistic name. I started using it as that. And when I introduce myself to folks, I would say, yes, my name is Yume, don't say no. Talk about Tanning the Boys. Tanning the Boys it still is the longest existing string band on St. Martin. I had a privilege to travel with them several occasions. I had a privilege to conduct their very first recording, called Fete. Remember Fete? I did that together with Lasana Suku from the House of Nazi. We went to Holland, we played at the Kuhl House. Remember the Kuhl House in the first place? They played, and there were a lot of Germans, thousands of people. And after that, everybody wanted music. But they had no recording, they had nothing. So we discussed with Lasana, we said, listen, when we get back to St. Martin, the first thing we have to do is make a project to get these guys on tape. So we came back and we did that. We went to the studio, do the songs and so forth. They have the marimba, they have the banjo, the guitars, the accordion, and the guiro. Now, most of these instruments stem from Santo Domingo, where they went, as our forefathers used to go to Santo Domingo to pick cane and work. They picked that up there. They picked up the playing of those instruments there and came back home with that. And also with that, that Spanish flavor of music. That's where it came from. It wasn't original St. Martin, but because of many of our forefathers went back there, they came back home with these things. Now, you don't have the young people playing these instruments. And should be something that we should embark on to bring it back to the forefront. Right now, we have a set of young boys are doing, they have the string band, the family string band. They're doing a fantastic job. But we need the little children, the 6-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, to be playing that. So that's an area that we really have to look into, when it comes to the string band, because these things are of old and they're fading. If you don't continue with it, they're going to fade away, and then the next generation will have no idea what was ever there before them. Now, Culebra was a gentleman that used to dig graves, or also foundations. And then you had Tanya as well. Nathaniel Davis was his name, and Culebra was Federico. He's called him Federico. And they had Maxime. Maxime was an Anguillian, actually. You had Eddie Violinist and George Violinist, two brothers. So, and these gentlemen over the years, you had Abrahams as well. I remember Abrahams was part of the group when we went to Holland. After you had the string band, you had conjuntos, a lot of conjuntos we had here on the island. And as we went on, everything get modernized. Then you had the bands. We had the bands, Superfly, Creole Stars. These were great stars. Rolling Stones, these are great dance bands that St. Martin had with their own particular style of music. It's very important to preserve your culture and your heritage. Very important. Remember, it is your own thing. Hello, everybody. Listen, the first thing I want to say, right? You guys did a fantastic job.
Right?
Right? This presentation is so beautiful. I mean, I gotta thank you for that vision. That vision to do this. Because it's, how you say, long awaited? Something like that. But it's so important, and you capture it well. The presentation, I go sit down and look at this over and over and over. It's just so nice. Everything is so beautiful. I want to thank you for, I don't know how, you don't say why you choose me. Because first of all, I come up in my place, just like that. Remember, I was in a play out, and I came from the cameras, I didn't even know what was going on. So I had to make myself available. So what happened?
I know, right? The reason why I chose him because he's your me. He is a brand. He is his own brand. He is a cultural icon. There is no mistake about it. You know what I mean? And just so you know, half of the things he said about Tanya and the Boys, I have no idea. I did not know that type of music was originally from Santo Domingo. I mean, my grandmother grew up there, but I had no idea, no clue whatsoever. I grew up listening to Tanya and the Boys. Mm-hmm. But knowing the
further than that, yes.
Yeah.
You see, and that's the problem we have today too, because we never think on who's coming in the back, and they pull, because sometimes the youth would feel that what they know is what they know, and that's the best thing. There was nothing ever before that. We just reach. Then they just reach, But I think we just reach and we don't know anything. I mean, the only thing they have over us is this social media, nothing. We can't beat them with that, But we still have to find a way to join them with it, to join. And like I always say, you have seniors and you have the youth. The youth have the energy. The seniors has the knowledge. So put it together. Put it together, we can move mountains. And that's what you have to do, you know? So I commend you guys for this job. I think it's just fantastic. So come up and next time again, let's do some more. But there's so much more to record.
Yes.
There's so much more to record, you know? But I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Karen Cadogan, and I'm here just to give you a little bit of St. Martin. And when I say St. Martin, I'm focusing on the floral print. I've seen in the past where we had the call for come out in your culture wear, and people would just appear in all forms, including the madras. However, we learned that the madras is not our culture wear. I've had the privilege to really come outside the box and engage with persons such as the late Dame Ruby Butte, who is so knowledgeable in the history and the background of our culture wear here on St. Martin. The ladies of the era, I would say, they actually would gather fabric from whatever they could get. It was based on their personal liking. It was based on the idea of having that zest and that luscious vibe of clothing, something that was colorful, not dull, as you see what I'm wearing, something that brought forth a little stature, some class, some dignity. And I got to learn that our fabric actually is not the madras, and our fabric remains to be the floral print. And it's floral across the board, so it's not recognizing one flower over the other. However, it's the floral print. So this is a type of fabric that we would wear for a lot of social, flamboyant events. Of course, if you were going to work in a fishery department, you would not wear such an attire. And if you were doing, for example, like the sugar plantation and salt era, that would not be your wear. However, when you are attending governor's balls and when you're attending picnics and you're attending, your village settings, you would come out, especially the ladies, they will come out vibrant in their colors, the reds, the pinks, the oranges, the blues, and the greens. And you will see the various costumes displayed, because the trademark of our culture wear, besides it being the floral, you would identify that the ladies also use very, very expensive lace. And there's no culture wear called St. Martin wear without this. So going back to speaking with Miss Ruby Butte, I found out that there were always something, evolving with our culture wear. Years ago, you would find that the ladies, the dresses, they would call it the frock. And it was huge. It was very heavy because it's a lot of fabric. And today in this modern age, we know that the average female would not want to wear such of an outfit. And now we have transformed it a little, so we have maintained that foundation of being of fabric, but we have modernized it. So in terms of what I'm wearing today, you will see that I still maintain the off-the-shoulder look. I still embrace the nice white lace trimming. I still have the floral print in there. However, I'm wearing something now which was worn under the dress, and it's a pantaloon. And I did a lot of modifications with the trimming of it by adding some floral fabric also at the ankle part of the pantaloon. So we are trying to let people know that we can be modern, yes, in our society, but yet embrace and carry on these traditions. Besides other areas of culture, this is a very, very vital part that we must carry on. And as a people, if we don't know where we come from, we don't know where we're going. I'm Karen Cadogan, and I am just honored to be working on this project to highlight all that's ours. It's we own thing.
Well, little to no need of introduction. Let me welcome Karen, a beautiful for the second video of talking about the cultural wear, and that has been a very dramatic topic on St. Martin. What is our culture? What is our fabric? So to see this, for especially me, it holds a dear part of my heart because when it comes to culture wear, it's very important. All right, everybody, Karen Cadogan.
Wow, good evening, everyone. You know, I'm just lost for words. I'm humbled. You know, Alvin, John, you know, with Kenty being there on the sidelines, I am just humbled to be part of this production. More so because it's telling the story about us as a people, who we are. You know, and like I mentioned in the video, if we don't know where we come from, we know where we're going. Let's just put it that way. But I am really honored to be part of this and to help to carry on the awareness and lighten our people, first of all, of our culture wear. We talk about culture, and culture is across the board is how we live, what we eat, our music, our dance, but we also recognize the patterns in our clothing. And we don't have to be old-fashioned, like I mentioned, but you can be a little modern. You could put a little pizzazz to it. And it's just coming here, for example, just an hour and a half ago, I met the Marines. They're staying at the Hillside School. And I stepped out. I went to carry something for the seamstress, and they look at me and they say, "Oh, you see the Moy eye?" They're like, "Wow, I mean, you look gorgeous." You know, and it's just to show you that the impact, but what is left as a taster. They see this and they're like, "Oh, we can see more of this. We don't mind coming to St. Martin," you know? And I am just thrilled that this is out. It's going to be out like forever. You know, when it comes to now with these productions reaching social media, it's going to be going via the schools, via the library, I mean, it's endless. And I'm just thrilled that I can be part of this to help us carry on these traditions. I know Larry is excited because now he's seen a lot. Yes, we have a lot of rules and regulations regarding our culture wear. You know, there are certain things that are the do's and there are certain things that are the don'ts. You know, and tying it in our St. Martin National Culture Parade, which takes place every year in November. This year is going to be the 11th of November. Don't miss it if you're not going to be on the island, but we welcome you back to the island, okay? And you will be able to see a little bit more of our traditions carried on, not just only the floor wear, but we'll be telling that story in the form of a parade. So we call it the walk-in theater. So I need not to say any more besides amazing job, amazing. Thank you.
And you said just a little bit about that particular location because nobody knows about where that is.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. I want you to actually like focus on that because we were so blown away by finding that in the keys. We were like, no, this exists. How we don't know about it yet?
In Sucker Garden. Yes. While most people were complaining about COVID and how we stuck indoors and how we can't go out and you know we can't go to a restaurant and how we can't mingle with our friends, Mr. Ermaine Domoy, along with a few others, decided, well, seeing that we can't go anywhere, let's see what is around us. And they had this patch of land and they started putting a little bit together, little artifacts together, something that is, you know, maybe thrown away, that is of good condition. You get an old chair, you put it in. You get, you know, very unique items started assembling there. And all of a sudden I get this message, oh yeah, we have Corona Park. And I say, Corona Park? What's going on? He said, yeah, you gotta come up to Corona Park. And when I arrived, I said, what in heaven's name going on here? Because you can't see anything. You just see like this structure, a lot of wood. And everything. I said, anyhow, as curious as I am, step right in. And when I got inside, I mean, there he had like an array, a setting, like different rooms. You know, it's just amazing. You know, we started giving names like this is the orange room. And, you know, like, but you have to be there. I can't tell you. What I'm saying is just a touch of the iceberg, but you need to be physically there to really experience Corona Park. I know, for example, Mrs. Sarah Westcott Williams will tell you a little bit. Kenty will tell you a little bit. You know, John, Alvin, they'll tell you a little bit about it, but you need to come. And every time you come to Corona Park, there's something different. there is always something different. The setting, it's just relaxing. You know, you have a busy schedule, you just come up to Corona Park, relax yourself. There's also going to be there's a section that he's creating, I heard, and through the pipeline, now where you could take off your shoes and you could just, you have the carpet or whatever, you could just relax. Oh, listen, there's so much going on. So, Sucker Garden, we know that we always say Sucker Garden is right next to Phillipsburg, right? Well, drive to Phillipsburg and take a trip over to Sucker Garden in the Keys, and you will enjoy Corona Park. You're welcome, my dear.
When it comes to storytelling of St. Martin history, you have text. And usually from that period, you would have had the European voice saying how black people lived in St. Martin. The Panam Dance, however, is the first voice narrative. It's an internal story of how people felt about the day of liberation. So, the Panam Dance is the embodied experience, a dance history, a story of St. Martin people told in song and told in movement. It's the capture of how people felt, the celebration, the jubilation, the release to once again reclaim their body as theirs. And what's the most important thing about the Panam Dance, it's attached to Emancipation Day. Not Emancipation Day of July 1st, but May 29. So the story goes as follows. May 27, the French Republic announces and declares the end of the abolishment of slavery. May 28, the news lands on the French side of St. Martin. May 29, the Diamond Estate 26, enslaved men, women, and children run for freedom. So technically, from May 29, 1848, those people that crossed the border kicked off a very, volatile period on St. Martin, because during that period, everybody put down their tools, and that's why the Panam Dance is walk free, walk free, walk free, walk free, done. My name is Clara Eduviges Reyes, and I'm an artist.
My name is Rudolph Davis, born in Anguilla, love St. Martin. Most people call me the godfather of folk on St. Martin. So, Clara, can you explain the difference with the Panam and the dance, the music?
In our tradition, we are interdisciplinary nature. Our art form of storytelling is not fragmented. Drumming, music, storytelling, all of that is part of the whole package. So we have had a very rich legacy of drumming that we didn't really grow up with. So when the Panam Dance was born, the instrumentation of choice was drumming. However, as the years passed, the big drummers of our community have passed on. So right now, the only memories we have of drum are from what the elders, the older heads told me. So the marriage of music, of movement, of dance, of storytelling, all together as one. And so the drumming was a very integral part of the drumming, part of St. Martin tradition. However, with the passing of all these older heads, which is something that almost happened with the Panam Dance, because when I saw the Panam Dance for the first time was 1981.
Wow.
And when I spoke to Parin, better known as Emilia Wilson, he saw the Panam Dance when he was 12, once in his life, and he didn't see it again until he was almost 70 years old.
Wow.
Until I came to speak to him about it. So what happened was, as these elders and these older heads died, all the nucleus of what made the Panam Dance a solid piece of St. Martin history died with the story of the drum. So the drum is an integral storytelling part of the Panam Dance. The new legacy holder, the legacy knowledge bearer, the bearer of Panam and St. Martin with drumming is a wonderful man called Elie Coquillas.
Yes.
He has been the one since 1989 that, as far as I know, was introduced to St. Martin Panam dance through Carolyn Jenkins, who was the first person that came to St. Martin to ask about this dance called the Panam dance. So she interviewed Miss Nez, Miss Den, and then they told her the story. And then that first coming together of the Panam dance, they had this collection of drummers living on St. Martin, and they learned the rhythms and everything through Ms. Nez and them. And then through them, we now have the first recollection of the drum tradition being passed on. And since that time, Elie is one of the most integral person in keeping the history of the Panam dance through the drum patterns.
This we own thing.
Must have been a hide 'em long time, the bunker been a hide 'em. Slave, slave, oh slave, I begun emancipation. Slave, slave, oh slave, I begun emancipation. It must have been a hide 'em long time, the bunker been a hide 'em. Must have been a hide 'em long time, the bunker been a hide 'em. Slave, slave, oh slave, I begun emancipation. Slave, slave, oh slave, I begun emancipation. Oh, slave, oh, slave, oh, slave, I begun emancipation. Oh, slave, oh, slave, oh, slave, I begun emancipation. I've been for a long, long time, right on this island. For a long, long time, right in the hideout. Oh, slave, oh, slave, oh, slave, I begun emancipation. Walk free, walk free, walk free, walk free, walk free, done.
Me again. What can I say? Strong message. Okay, I kind of lost for words on this one. This one was the most, I would say, difficult one to edit. From the time we were starting to record, actually, because we did it in Emilio Wilson in the park, not the side where everybody does normally go, but the side of the museum, and we did it under some trees. And Clara, every time she would speak, she would stop, and she was like, "There's this chill thing," and she's like, "You don't feel the spirits here?" Her ancestors, and every time she would always remind us that, you know, this is something sacred, and the Panam dance is a way of talking about the sacredness of everything from the slaves right on, and yeah, it was a very difficult thing to edit. Even we and tell you the honest God, I should ask my brother. This was the most difficult one. We keep having problems with this particular edit. Voicing, the recording, and it was very difficult, and that's why we left it for the last. I find it was the strongest message. Not only that, but because I don't know if you noticed, but we try not to do in all of the videos, not much cutaways. Not try to give you that visual effect, but more bring you in as a one-on-one with the interviewer, you know, so that you can sit behind your screen and actually feel like it's them talking to you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well captured.
So that's the reason why we decided not to do so much B-roll and everything like that, to make it a one-on-one type something, to, you know, it's real thing.
All right. So you guys saw the videos. How you guys feelings thus far? All right. So of course I would like to call Kinty on behalf of CCG. Candy? Okay, no problem. Because I believe it's. But I believe it's very important that they have a little word, seeing that they were a part of this, to make sure that all of this happened. So I want to give a round of applause to them, because without them it wouldn't have been possible for sure.
I'll do it this evening. Good evening, everyone. I think the sentiment has been said already. This is absolutely amazing. One of the things that I know whenever we do something with CCG, it's always about preserving our culture, capturing our culture, promoting our culture, making it accessible. And culture, as you may said, is our, I'm not sure who said it, it's our food, it's the way how we dress, it's everything that embodies who we are as Samaritanas and across the region. So with this, it was an honor to be part of this project, to give the funding to make it possible. And this stands for everything I believe CCG stands for when it comes to the cultural aspect. So thank you for taking that funding and turning it into something absolutely beautiful and amazing. Great job, guys. And we look forward to the next one. I'm telling you already. Alrighty.
Awesome, awesome. So before we continue, we would like to thank all the sponsors. Of course, we have to thank Couture Funds for being a part of this. We have to thank Islandpreneurs. We need to thank Laser 101. We need to thank YR, which is 92.5 FM. And if anybody else, of course, we need to thank Party Rentals for helping us with the decorations and everything. It is marvelous. Give them a round of applause. Make sure you go on their Facebook and like them and support. It's very important. And of course, we would like to thank you guys for coming today, this evening, and ensuring that you get that one-on-one look. You guys are one of the first set to watch and look at everything. And of course, Alvin will come on to basically close us off with everything. But nevertheless, it is an impactful session today, and it just shows how much culture St. Martin has, and it shows how much more projects we have to do here on St. Martin. Hint, hint. It just shows that we, you know, the projects don't stop here. It just is a continuation. Of course, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of funding, because to get a lot of these things done, it takes money. Let us be honest. Yes, but the fact that we have, for example, Couture Funds that sees a vision, the importance of bringing culture back to life and ensure that it stays within the countries of Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, and St. Martin, it speaks volume. And that is why I find it's very important that they're taking the initiative to ensuring that these projects like this continues and it stays alive and it lives on beyond just a year, but it's a continuation of cultural expandation of persons being able to research and understand what is St. Martin's culture, what is Curaçao's culture, what is Bonaire's culture. I think what the problem is that with everyone within the Caribbean, that sometimes the culture is being lost, and us doing projects like this that Alvin and John took upon to ensure that we're now being able to retrieve and suck all that we can before, you know, the next generation is passed off and it was never been told, and we was like, oh, we didn't get to ask this question. This is the time now where we need to create more projects, hint, hint, that we're able to continue having these things on archives and so forth, that I am able to look at it, or if I couldn't remember something, I could be like, Alvin, can you send me back that video that you did maybe 3 months ago, where I can understand about the Panam, or I can understand about the legacy of our music and where did it actually come from, because I learned so much this evening, especially with the musicality part, because I didn't know there was a Latin aspect of it. Didn't know. All right, so it's very important, and I feel proud to be here this evening to have that one-on-one look to see it. Those who are on Facebook, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to ensure that you guys saw it, and please share and continue to follow our We Own Thing page, because there is much more to see. All right.
Okay. Besides the thank you, I just want to tell you again about the brand We Own Thing and why we came up with 240 seconds. I forgot to mention that before. Again, it's short stories. If you can see, short stories, very impactful, short, to the point. We did that because this generation, and I'm assuming the generation to come, the attention span, it ain't like us that we could read a whole book in like 2 or 3 days. It's short. Magazines is like this now, when you get them. So the brand is We Own Thing, and to come, we're gonna do other stuff. We're gonna expound on top of it. We're gonna probably do a 540 second, and go up and up and up and up and up. The videos you see are the 4-minute videos. We're gonna probably edit them again and make them a little long because it was so much content. You know, we might even come back to you and ask you to expound a little bit on that content so we could have new and then go on from there. You know, we're also planning on doing St. Martin's monuments. You know, and we plan on doing that with a little bit of tech inside of it, and cameras, and involve the students to come and do certain things, you know, bring the knowledge, what we have, what we learn, pass it on to them so that they can do even more with it. So please look forward to the We Own Thing. Again, it's We Own Thing. Okay? And thanks for coming out again. My brother don't speak much. So okay? Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So as I said, we're looking forward for that, but I don't know how it slipped me. But Josie Ann Peterson from the library, we have to please give her a shout out, because she did an amazing job by giving us certain information that Alvin and John needed to be able to put this together. Of course, once again, the library is a very important place that we need to ensure. That's part of our culture that we need to keep as well. Hopefully we can get one of the state-of-the-art libraries soon. But nevertheless. Yes, I know, right? But state-of-the-art library where we'll be able to have all of this information in the archives, and even more where we'll be able to express our cultural expression and art within that one, building. It's not about but it's about reading, it's about learning the different things, the poetry, and actual keeping the cultural life, paintings, everything will be in that one building, and I can't wait to see it. Hint, hint. It's coming, I know, it's coming. Yes, nevertheless, I want you guys, hope you guys enjoyed. Is there any questions, any feedback that you guys have concerning the video? The floor is open. Yes?
I would like to say something.
Sure.
Good evening, everybody, again. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me on behalf of the library. Of course, the library is coming. We are very much busy with that. And the drawings and everything is ready. Right now, we're waiting for it to be demolished and then for us to start building. Hopefully by 2027, sometime there, it's going to be semi-finished to finish. One thing I would like to tell everybody, at least that was part of this, while we're making this and while we have the result, while we have the end product, I also would like to implore on you to make sure the making of this is also very important. Make sure that we have that recorded. Make sure that we know how we reach there, and that we can also show, listen, it didn't come out of nothing. It come from somewhere. And that is not for us alone, but for also for the ones that's coming, to see how hard we have worked to make sure that they know what they know today, and so that they can also continue. I think my 4 minutes is done. Thank you, and I hope you all can enjoy this. And guys, this is the beginning of something amazing. Yes, yes, yes. And thank you again for inviting me.
Okay, guys, how are we feeling? How was it?
Wonderful.
Okay, great. So, as Ms. Roseanne mentioned, that this should be recorded and we should have this archive. Actually, we do. And we have a little gift for everyone. Alvin? So we have this documented, and it's in a USB stick design, special design. Yes. So with our logo and the logo of our sponsors, it's very personalized. So I hope you guys enjoy it. You can have it to share with your kids, your grandkids. Later on, it's gonna be passed on to the schools. So we do plan on trying to push this as far. There you go. So this is what it looks like. We have CCG, focus forward, and we own thing to 40 seconds. So the idea is to push this, have this in our archive for as far as possible. Thanks again for being part of this journey for us. It was very important. We are honored, and I hope you guys had a great time. Yeah. Now we have some snacks, we have some refreshments in the back. Please join us and have a good evening.